Hi everybody, welcome to the fifth take of this video. Every time I start this video, I just get blocked. I don't know what to talk about. So this time I got notes. Um, so the first point in the note I wrote is people make mistakes all the time they can avoid. So I see this a lot all the time, like everywhere I go. People make unconscious mistakes all the time, and those mistakes work against them. And so a lot of times, a lot of people, they're stepping on their own toes. A lot. And it doesn't take a lot of work for them to improve themselves such that they stop making these mistakes. It doesn't take a lot of reading. It doesn't take a lot of reflection and introspection to figure out that you're causing your own problems. And that's the fundamental reason that you should be self-improving or improving yourself. It's not just a general life philosophy to improve yourself, because why wouldn't you improve yourself? No. That shouldn't be your reasoning for it. Your reason to self-improve should be to avoid making your life worse than it has to be. To make the most of your resources so that you live a better life without requiring and depending on more. So the whole point of the self-improvement way of life is that you get to do more with less. You get to suffer less. You get to step on your own toes and trip and fall and get hurt less than you have to. It's like you learn how to walk such that then you can sprint, such that then you can run. It's better than crawling your way around life, you know? And people I'm really like mind blown as to how people just don't get that. Most people are just they give zero consideration to improving themselves. They don't see themselves as part of the chessboard. They don't see themselves as part of the game. They see themselves as spectators, something like that. Like they don't have power and control over what happens. But funnily enough, in another way, they do believe that they have power and control over it. But it's like they kind of believe that they don't have power and influence over their circumstances, something like that. And so they never think about improving themselves. They never think about reading in order to learn what they don't know so they can do better in life. And this whole the books on that genre are called self-help, which I really, really hate, because it kind of implies that you need help, like you're sick, or you're ill, or you're weak, or you're poor, or you're something inferior by nature, that you need someone above you to help you. It's not always the case. Sometimes it's the case, sometimes that's true, and even if it is the case, those people that need help don't want to think that about themselves. And if in some cases that they do believe they just need help to get picked up, kind of telling them to buy self-help books, I think it makes them feel bad when they don't have to. It's like kicking them when they're down, if that's the expression. And so because of that, I prefer to call it self-mastery as opposed to self-improvement, because it sounds much nicer, it sounds much more epic, and like it sounds more appropriate, because I mean you can keep improving yourself, but I mean technically self-improvement sounds accurate, but self-mastery is like it's the motivation behind it. It might be just me, I can't really tell, but what keeps you going is that you're trying to master yourself. You're trying to overcome yourself such that you're no longer enslaved by yourself. That's it might be just me, I don't know, but I think that's generally what people are trying to do. They're trying to master the tendencies and parts of them that get in their way, and so they're trying to master themselves. I think that sounds a lot better than self-improvement. My advice to anyone who's trying to improve themselves, and I think not following this advice is probably one of the major core reasons people don't successfully improve themselves and and have momentum in that direction, which is think locally. Think locally. So when you're improving yourself, when you're thinking of what do you need to improve on yourself, what do you need to do next, how do you allocate your efforts and resources, all of that effort and attention and planning and actions and all of that, it should be directed locally, very, very, very close to you, very locally. But a lot of times, I truly believe that the reason that someone who's starting out self improvement tends to shoot for the stars immediately when they can't even take a few steps forward, which you can tell is unrealistic, and they will crash and burn very quickly, and they will be very discouraged and demotivated. I think that part of why they attempt that at first is because they see the people that they would like to be like that are up in the stars, and they think that you shouldn't waste your time learning to walk and run and jump here on earth. You should just aim for the stars, because why waste your time down here? Besides, they're trying to improve themselves. They're trying to be like those up in the stars. And so what do you do to go to the stars? You go to the stars, right? Like, what they see is the broken symptom, and then they tackle that directly. When actually, things are more complicated and systematic than that. If you want to tackle, if you want to, let's say, uh, if you have a disease and you want to cure yourself, you don't take a look at the symptoms and slap them or something, or put a band-aid on the symptoms. No, no. You see the source of the disease and you try and kill it from the inside. And so it's kind of an indirect approach to take the symptoms away. It's the same thing when you're trying to improve yourself. You don't want to shoot for the stars directly. You want to see what's getting in your way. You want to do a deep analysis of that, and then you'll understand that it's generally a transportation issue, which starts with walking. Because if you shoot for the stars, even in the ship that's going to the stars, you have to walk inside, don't you? What, you're gonna build a wheelchair or something because you can't walk? Just learn to walk. If you learn to walk and then run, then you learn the whole concept of motion and dynamics, and then you build on top of that. But by, let's say, making a car or something, you'll understand better how the spaceship works, and then you'll understand better how to jump from star to star. You'll be much more effective at doing that. And you know what? If you start by walking and then you exponentially improve until you reach the spaceship, you will get to the spaceship faster than if you try to go to the spaceship directly. That doesn't work. It never, ever works. Actually, I can't really say ever, ever, but I would say I'm fairly certain at least 99% of the time it doesn't work, you know? So that's thinking globally. You're thinking about the very distant destination of reaching a star, and you're trying to get there. But what you should do is you should see where you're lacking from where you are, and then grow out of that. You know, you think very locally. The closest thing to you, you start with that instead of going all the way over there to the stars. It doesn't work. And when people get to that question of why should I start locally? Who cares about walking? Those guys over there are going in the stars, and you're thinking about me, and you're telling me or trying to convince me that I should be walking here? That's not going to have any impact. Okay? Doesn't matter how much I learn to walk, I'm not going to be in the stars. They're thinking that those guys are up in the stars. Why should I waste my time walking? There's a spaceship that will take me from planet to star, from star to star. Why? It doesn't make sense to learn to walk. Okay? We have advanced beyond walking. We have spaceships. That's their thought process as far as I can tell. And they're not seeing that you need to get from the basics to the advanced, not to the advanced directly. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Okay? That's why I think locally. Always think locally. And when you see someone like, who do I take as an example? when you see someone, let's say Elon Musk, right? He's literally going to Mars. He's revolutionizing multiple industries at the same time. He is working globally, right? But there's there's 2 points you need to keep in mind. First is he didn't start aiming at the moon or Mars. He didn't start thinking globally. At least I don't think he did. I'm fairly certain he didn't. I can't claim a fact, but I'm fairly certain he didn't. He started with something small. As far as I know, the beginning of his story, I think it was in his early 20s or some shit, or late teens, is when he was in South Africa, he went to Canada, right? That wasn't part of a plan to take humanity to Mars. It wasn't. It was just him trying to make his local immediate life better. And then he built on top of that, and he built on top of that. That's generally how it works. And he didn't start working globally until his local was expanded towards what we see as global. So he didn't build on global, he didn't build on the global scope. He expanded his local scope to go to the global scale. And so what you do is you improve yourself until you can take more things, as opposed to attempting to take more things and expecting yourself to get better at it. No, you improve yourself such that you are able to do more, as opposed to aiming to do more and then resisting the parts of you that stop you from doing more. I hope I'm clarifying it. I hope I'm articulating it concisely enough for you guys. I really can't tell. And the next 3 points are, I'll do this quickly because no time, is do what's best for you. It sounds selfish. In a way it is, but it also isn't. It's misleading to think of it as selfish even though it technically is. Do whatever is best for you. Take care of yourself. Like this one time recently, some guy, I live in Kuwait, some guy asked me why I don't care about the news of what's happening in Syria and Iraq. He tells me about the bad news. This person died, stuff happened there. I don't know what he said. And I told him, why do you care about that? And he said, because those are our brothers. They're our neighbors. How do you not care? We have to care and donate money and all that crap. I said, but, you can donate money and not depress yourself with the news. And I told him that if you really want to help, you should improve yourself such that you have something to offer them. Because right now, all you have to offer is money, and you don't need anything. You don't need to concern yourself with what happens there. All you have to do is give money. That doesn't take learning what happens in the news to do that. So basically, my idea is improve yourself locally and do what's best for you, and you'll keep growing. Then, in time, when the time comes, you'll have something to offer the world. Be patient with that. But when you do what's best for you, do it wisely and virtuously. And you must understand why you should be virtuous and why you should educate yourself to be wiser every day. There's a reason for that. It's not because it sounds better. It's not because people will think, yeah, that's what you should do because that's good. No. There's a practical reason to do that. There's a practical reason to be virtuous. And it's also a selfish, tactical, and a strategic reason if that's what you're after. Okay? It's a very, very long-term investment. It's not a short-term gain. You're not going to see the gain now. That's partly why you need faith. Because in a lot of cases, you're going to be in positions where you just can't imagine how doing something right and good right now will in any way ever be good for you. You can't see it. For the life of you, you just can't see it, but it's there. That's where faith comes in. When you can't see it, but a part of you deep down knows it has to be true. That's faith. Invest in that such that you do the right virtuous thing regardless of circumstance. And so you do what's best for you, but you do it wisely in a way that doesn't hurt other people unless you have to. And when you have to, it's no longer unwise and bad, immoral. It's when you have to, right? Anyway, so that's the gist of it. I hope I made myself clear. Thank you for watching 15 minutes of me rambling on before bed. Have a good night, good day, whatever.